Welcome to the Don't Panic Radio Show. I'm Steve Vinson. That's Paul Schultz. This is the Don't Panic Radio Show. Sit back, relax, and ignore the news. Nothing you're about to hear is true.
In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move.
This week, this month, this is Shark Week. So we're going to talk about the MEG and MEG 2, The Trench. It's a show about a show where this guy meets a shark, like the biggest shark you've ever seen. It's Jason Statham. It's other great actors, and it's great CGI, lots of action, and a little bit of story. It's good stuff. And then we're going to talk about D&D, which we know y'all love D&D. You might also like Charlie. You'll remember from another one of our properties on this studio where we reviewed a Moist Critical video. So we're going to talk about where Moist Critical played some D&D in a live stream, and we'll talk about how that was received. And, the usual jibber jabber you've come to know and love.
Before we do that, if you like our videos and you like our content, do us all a favor. It doesn't take long. Go down there, hit the like, subscribe button, leave a comment, share it with a friend, and make sure you hit that little bell icon if you're watching this on YouTube, because that little bell icon lets YouTube know we exist.
It's Shark Week here on the Don't Panic Radio Show. We're going to review, I'm going to review MEG 2, The Trench. The MEG was a 2018, I believe, movie that came out with Jason Statham, which is interesting because if you don't remember Jason Statham, he's the one that's mentioned in that 21 Pilots song. He's the tiger. He's the pet tiger that one of the 21 Pilots guys keeps in his basement or something.
Right. It's a very different movie for him, to be honest.
Usually he's driving.
He's driving and like kicking the crap out of somebody, and sometimes at the same time. In this, he's in the MEG, he's in a boat and kicking a giant shark.
Not to spoil anything about MEG 2, but for Jason Statham fans, he does more of what he doesn't really drive that much. He drives a, what do they call those things? It's like a motorcycle on water, jet ski.
Jet ski, yeah.
He does drive one of those. And he does beat some people up. So the MEG, I was surfing around on, as I've told you recently, now that people are starting their lives and have their own thing to do, I find myself frequently sitting in the family room by myself, and I haven't gotten to the point, I haven't made the full transition to get my own projects going and that kind of thing. So I'm just sitting there where normally there would be people that need things and they're not there. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll flip around on the TV. I started getting into too many political YouTube videos, and it was just I was just getting too depressing, especially as we got two major wars going on right now. I don't need every detail about it. I need to keep up on what's happening, but I don't need every detail. We got two major wars. We got a former president who's trying to become the forever president, and it's just too much to watch all the videos, right?
Yeah.
So I'm running across. I'm like, oh, I got that. I got HBO Max, or as HBO likes to call it, Max.
Max.
They couldn't just change the name. They're like, nope, you got to get rid of your old app now and get this new app called Max, because we're no longer HBO Max. We're just Max. And I saw something called, because I started watching Aliens. I got so far into it and I was like, that's all right. It's okay. The beginning of Aliens is way better than the rest of Aliens. And so I got a little bored, and I'm clicking around like I want adventure. I need some kind of adventure. I was like, the Meg? What the heck is the Meg? Like that could either be a romantic comedy about, somebody named Meg, or but it looks interesting. So I clicked on it. It's a Jason Statham vehicle.
Hmm.
And it's also a megalodon vehicle. So the original, the Meg, is about it's like a 60 million year old prehistoric shark, right? And the megalodon is supposed to be the largest shark ever. It's just
Yes, just ever.
this giant fish, right? Or my dad would be like, "Are you sure it's a fish?" I'm not sure it's.
Bro,
I'm like, "No, you're
I
thinking of whales." He's like, "Oh, that's right. Whales are animals.
yeah.
Sharks are not animals." Like you're
Well,
thinking
I'm right
mammal.
there with your dad though, man, because I had to look that shit up.
It's a- it's I don't know if it's real or not. All I know is it's modern day, and we end up with megalodons in the modern day. Hang on a second. That's my ringtone. Hello. Yeah, this is 130,000-year-old mastodon. I heard you're
Oh
talking about
Lord.
some kind of old fish. Oh my
Oh
God, I haven't
Lord.
talked to you in a long time. Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm back. I'm here to talk to you. I went fishing one time, and anyway, I caught a big damn shark, and I cooked it up, and I ate for weeks off of that thing. Yeah, well, 130,000-year-old mastodon. We're still trying to get our sea legs, so to speak, here on the reboot of the Don't Panic radio show. I don't think I'm quite ready to talk to you right now, so I'm gonna hang up. Wait, don't hang up, don't hang up. What
He
I
must
didn't
be one
know.
of our new subscribers.
It's just so weird that he would call because he hasn't called me in 4 years. And
Eh?
suddenly I'm talking about a 60 million year old mastodon and 130,000-year-old. Wait, I'm talking about a 60 million
You can
year
do
old
it.
megalodon and 130,000-year-old mastodon calls right in the middle of the show. He's never called when there's been video before. So suddenly I'm like, should I put him on? Should I have dialed him into the Teams chat? Or is it okay that I just let him call on the phone? I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready for this. That's all I'm saying.
It- It's even crazier that like when he called, your screen glitched and you were gone there for a minute. So
Hmm,
welcome back.
I don't know what happened. That's weird. Okay. Anyway, so the Meg, I'm going to run through the Meg real quick just to get everybody caught
Mhm.
up. And I think you watched it too, right? So you can weigh in on
Yeah,
this.
we watched it last night. I
Yeah.
put it off for the longest time only because I kind of forgot it was a thing after a while, and then you brought up the Meg too, and I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, we sat down and watched it last night.
I don't think the science is quite valid, but they did an okay job.
Shit.
They did it.
Yeah.
What they did do is they did an okay job of what you and I have talked about a lot before, which is your science doesn't actually have to have all the science it needs. It just has to be internally consistent. And you can't have a like, well, this is how this works, and then it doesn't work like that later on in the movie, right? It's got to
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
say this is how this works, it's got to work the whole way through the movie, even if it's wrong.
Right.
It's like
Right.
some historians say about history. They're like, you don't. I forget what historians say about history.
What do you have to say about forgetting history?
No, I don't. Anyway, so apparently what they do is they did okay. This
Hmm.
multi-billionaire. So Dwight Schrute uh, apparently Dunder Mifflin does really well because Dwight Schrute's like a
Yeah.
billionaire, right?
Yeah.
And he decides with his billions of dollars, he's gonna start this marine biology thing. He's like
Hmm.
the Elon Musk of the sea, and
He's
played
about as
by,
bright.
and he's about as bright. Um, and they there's a scientist who believes that that at the bottom of the sea, there's this thermal layer that, so
Mhm.
you think it's the bottom, but it's not really. If you keep going, you go through the thermal layer, and nothing that's below that thermal layer can make its way up through the thermal layer. So there's other life down there that we don't know about.
Right.
So, of course, the thing that you want to do there is take a submarine without sending any sort of robotic anything, just send people down there.
They only had an hour and a half, man.
Oh,
They
that's
had to
true.
speed things up.
So, they send a submarine down there, and there's a big ass shark, bigger
Hmm.
than that shark on Jaws, way bigger, like
Yeah.
multiple times bigger. And Jason Statham plays that character that you see in movies all the time. It's like something real bad happened. He's a
Yeah.
he's a world he's world's best diver, right?
Yeah.
And rescue diver. Like
Yeah.
something bad. You can't save them all. And one day, years ago, he wasn't able to save everybody. He saved some, but he couldn't save them all. And if he hadn't made the decision not to save them all, he wouldn't have saved anybody, and they all would have died. But
Yeah.
then, of course, everybody, he's a hero until the government bureaucrats get involved, and then, of course, he crawled. They kicked him out of whatever thing he was in, and he crawled into the bottom of a bottle and stayed there
Yeah.
for years.
I love how he's yeah, he's drinking beer for breakfast, right? But somehow
Yeah.
manages to remain ripped.
Yes. That's what you want. Maybe he was on that Wegovy or whatever, the Ozempic stuff.
or, or is this drinking Michelob Ultra or something low
It was
carb?
Michelob Ultra. I can suspend disbelief to a certain point. But
Yes.
anyway, so
Yeah.
then somebody dives down, they get in trouble, attacked by one of these giant sharks, and the people show up and they're like, "You have to do one last job. I'm not going to do it. No amount of money will get me to do it. It's your ex-wife. I'm on board." All right. So he
Man,
goes,
not me.
and you're like, yes. He's like, well, fish food.
Yeah.
So it's actually, I here's my review of the Meg. Better than I thought it would
Okay.
be.
Right. Right.
It's
Yeah.
not your typical Jason Statham. I don't think
No,
he drives a car once, if I remember
doesn't drive a
correctly.
car. I think he
He
only kicks the megalodon once.
he doesn't fight people. He just shows up, does his job as like a really good diver. Um, of course, they screw up they accidentally allow the megalodon to escape,
Mm-mm.
and yeah, then they have to fight it, topside.
Yeah.
Of
Right.
course, a few people
Well,
die,
yeah. Some of
but
them die spectacularly.
yeah, there's some pretty good deaths. There's the comic relief guy who's provides what you would. I there was a little. It was 2018. We hadn't quite had the summer of resistance yet. We hadn't quite, and
Yeah.
so there was a few moments where it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like
Yeah.
the black dude can't swim. Really, you're gonna do
There's
that one?
Yeah, and there's always some I don't know what it is about water movies that have a black actor in it, that the black actor has to be like the comedy relief. I
Hmm.
mean, you got Dwight Schrute on your movie, and somehow he's not the comedy relief. It's you know,
Yeah, Dwight Schrute didn't have like any funny, like he was just like the Elon Musk character, right? He was just
yeah, yeah.
dumb and cared only about money.
For me, it was like it was only up until towards the very end that I was willing to believe the million-year-old shark, and the going down into the Marianas Trench and somehow not getting like bleeding out of your eyeballs coming
Yeah,
up. But I was willing to just suspend my disbelief on all that,
yeah.
but I couldn't suspend my disbelief on a benevolent, ethical billionaire. Fortunately, Dwight Schrute doesn't disappoint.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, there were a number of, watching it as we have after the billionaire who,
Ooh, you're
imploded.
right, man. Yeah, that was weird. I'm watching all this and all this technical stuff, and the first crew that's down there. I'm just joking around. It's like they're trying to fix the vessel, and I'm like, "Ah, if only I had an Xbox controller, we could be out of here."
That's right. It is interesting because, with the news cycle being what it is, we all become experts in whatever the latest thing is, right? So
Yeah,
now that
yeah.
we're all experts in deep sea diving after after that submersible imploded, we know how it works, we know why it works, we know, just like seeing people go, I'm doing the math like so in Meg 2, they go even deeper and they're
Uh-huh.
talking about 6,000 meters. And I'm like, oh,
Mm.
calculate that. I know what that is. And that's way farther than that. It's like
Yeah.
suddenly we all know. And the way when James Cameron did his, oh, by the way, okay, when James Cameron did his thing down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, they talked about how that vessel was unbelievably expensive and took a long time to engineer and like had all kinds of like, but these things in the Meg 2 are just like, oh, here's another one, throw it down there, right?
Yeah.
But speaking of James Cameron, okay, it's interesting. So in the Meg 2, and we'll watch the trailer here in a second, um, they do spend a lot of time at the bottom of the sea, and there's all these interesting wildlife formations, and they did it in the Meg too. You see these like floaty things, and they're really cool and all that stuff, and I'm like, this is Avatar 2, Way of the Water. And when I watched Avatar 2, Way of the Water, when I let me correct that. When I watched the first half of Avatar 2, Way of the Water, because that's about as far into it as I could get without,
Uh-huh.
I was just ready to gouge out my own eyes. I would, when this is not a review of Avatar and Avatar 2, but you will find out how I feel about it. Avatar was Fern Gully with, 1,000 times the budget. I don't know if you ever saw Fern Gully. Fern Gully's, okay, Dances with Wolves and Pocahontas ripped off Fern Gully. So all these different movies have the same basic plot line, right? Noble savage, one of the white savior, the tree of life that they destroy. Spoiler alert.
Sure.
This is Avatar, right? But I was willing to forgive Avatar and even went and saw it once at IMAX because
Mm.
the CGI and the effects and everything were so cool. It was just
Mm-hmm.
really neat, and that was
Mm-hmm.
fun because it's an alien world, and he had these concepts like of what an alien world might look like and how that might go and all this stuff. Avatar 2, Way of the Water, it was not, I mean, you go under the water and all the life forms look pretty much like you're watching a National Geographic special,
Yeah. Yeah.
the oceans of the world, and you've got the,
Yeah.
and that's what he had.
Right.
Some of them were bioluminescent, but
Yeah.
so
I
the
can watch
Meg.
that stuff for free on cable.
Or you could watch the Meg or Meg 2, in which they're walking along the bottom of the ocean, which again, they're walking along the bottom of the ocean, but they didn't have those big ass steel feet like they, in the big
Yeah.
diving bell to keep them from floating away. They're just walking along like they're walking on the surface, But
Well,
anyway,
how's he gonna kick a shark in that suit?
they that was my issue with the first half. And I think I messaged you. I was like, Meg 2, not enough Megs.
Not enough Megs.
Because the beginning, he apparently he needed the money or he climbed back out of the bottle. I don't know why, but he's like
Mm.
working at the beginning in the opening scene, the hook scene or the
Yeah.
go get your popcorn scene is him basically like trying to catch people dumping illegal waste, and he has to
Mm-hmm.
kick a bunch of people's ass on a cargo ship. So that was kind of cool. And then they got these really cool suits. They go to the bottom of the ocean and somebody sabotages them and they have to walk across the bottom of the ocean to get to this other thing. And I'm just sitting there like, what are the fish going to show? Where's the shark? So let's watch the trailer.
Oh yeah.
Jonas, we need your help. We're detecting increased aquatic activity 25,000 feet deep in the trench. It's an ancient ecosystem untouched by man. Whatever is down there is trying to make its way to the surface.
This was a bad idea.
Just a little bit. Jonas, we've got company.
That's the biggest Meg I've ever seen.
Biggest Meg anyone's ever seen.
That's the apex predator.
Everybody make it to the station! You can make it! Hit line!
3 massive Megs and who knows what else have escaped the breach.
I just hope it goes better than last time.
What happened last time? You don't want to know.
This ain't the end. I saw you again.
Go! We've never seen this before. They hunted in packs.
We can relax. This place, Meg-proof. I mean, Jonas was always afraid of this, but I was also thinking...
Okay, so I gotta ask: is the trailer the movie?
The great thing about this trailer is it is the movie. You just saw the movie. The only thing
Okay.
you're missing is the details of the plot and the character, like what is the actual, why are they down there? What, why are they back at that beach? You don't know why all that, but as far as all the action and stuff goes, you just got the movie. So if you
Okay, I
liked
guess
it,
I
like
know
if
what
you're
I'm-
like, that's cool, ooh, that's cool, oh, that's cool, then it's like you'll like the movie.
Yeah, I like that the little dumbass dog is back.
Yeah.
Pepito or whatever the dog's name was.
Yeah. And I'm just going to take this opportunity to complain about James Cameron again, because James Cameron, he played me. I got to admit it. When I saw Avatar, I was like, he's like, okay, there's going to be an Avatar 2, but it's going to take me, I got to wait until the technology's got to catch up to make the movie I want to make. And I'm like, this goofy little Jason Statham vehicle just did what you did in Avatar 2, and you made us all wait like 17 damn years for it.
Let me just tell you 2 things. One, when they tell you the technology has to catch up with the movie I want to make,
Yeah.
your movie is going to be garbage. Case in point, the Star Wars prequels.
Ah,
The other thing is, when when all anyone ever wants to talk about your movie is the technology that went into making this movie and the groundbreaking technology and the technology and the groundbreaking and and no one says anything about your movie. Your movie's garbage.
Yeah.
It may look pretty, but it's garbage. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the first Avatar, whatever it was called.
It's called Avatar.
Visually, yeah, okay. So visually, yeah, it was a pretty movie. At that time, I had this huge wall screen in my living room, and we watched it on that, and it was, it was fun. It's a pretty movie, but like you said, it's freaking Fern Gully and Dances with Wolves and every other white savior movie. Just
Yeah.
and that's typically we'll get back to Meg in a second, or Meg 2, The Trench, in a minute. That's typically Cameron's problem. Cameron's movies are technically interesting, but story-wise, they appeal to like the lowest frigging common denominator person there is. And the ones that are really good, he ripped off from somewhere else. I mean, and I'm not just talking out of my ass, because okay, Cameron made Terminator. Terminator ripped off 2 Harlan Ellison stories. And as soon as he said that in an interview with like Fangoria or Starlog, man, they ripped those magazines off the shelf and reprinted that article because they knew they messed up. Like, who let him talk? Who let him talk? Even I having said all that, and while we're on the subject of water movies, the director's cut version of his movie The Abyss is great. Is it a great story? You've kind of seen it all before, but it's a great movie. So I'll give him the director's cut of The Abyss. But no, I'm watching this when we're done. I'm watching Meg 2, The Trench.
Go for it. There's some pretty good moments in it, and again, the science probably could use a little more science, but that's okay.
Well, all that science, I don't understand.
Let's take a little break. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll talk about a little D&D with Critical. We'll be right back.
Charles, can you just tell us where we're going? We've been walking for days and I only have one kidney. Home Improvement reruns are on and Tim the Toolman Taylor's making that goofy noise I like.
Oh, ye of little faith, you bloviating buffoon. All those other side projects, the esports organization, pro wrestling, my rise through the ranks of Hollywood as a peerless thespian, all just an elaborate distraction from what is meant to be my magnum opus, my legacy-defining triumph. I present to you an exhilarating role-playing journey of mirth and merriment, a world in which anything and everything can and probably will happen. Welcome to Critical Role.
Hey, Charlie, Matt here. Hey, buddy. We talked about this. I really can't have you using that name at all, please.
Yeah, dude, it's like really confusing. You're a creative person. Just come up with something else.
Yes,
please.
It's maybe we can share a letterhead, I guess, if we did go through it.
No, actually, Matt, our lawyers called and they don't actually know who they work for anymore, so they have to change it.
You have to change it.
Please, just
please.
alter that for us.
I don't know, guys. I kind of like it. Critical
Sam,
Role.
No, it's don't buy.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around through the whatever we did during the break. All right, well, let's do a little moist critical Penguinzo, Charlie, playing D&D. What you got, man?
About 2 weeks ago, at time of this recording, he finally got around to launching his live stream skill check, which is basically him and a bunch of the guys that he does videos with are playing D&D. And the interesting thing about it for me was he's got 2 episodes in. These are live streams. They're like 2 to 2.5 hours long, and like the thing I noticed is they're playing fifth edition D&D, which if you don't know much about fifth edition D&D, I'm surprised because it's everywhere. Um, a lot of people in his comments, in the comment feeds, were going on and on about how boring it is and how like there's no animation involved in it, and it's like it occurred to me that thanks to shows like YouTube shows like Critical Role,
That
there's
sounds
this
right. Yeah.
there's this misconception about what D&D is. Critical Role is put together. I mean, it's now over. They moved on to other things, but Critical Role was professional actors, professional voice actors, uh, immersing themselves into this narrative, like the way actors do. It's not really scripted, but they know how to ad lib. These are professionals, and in Charlie's case on Skill Check, they're just the guys from his video channels and various YouTube channels. So they were getting a lot of crap for being boring or not being professional or there being no animation. It's like people don't understand animation doesn't make itself. You know,
Well, it does now with
if it was
AI.
well, unfortunately. So it was getting a lot of crap, and it occurred to me people one don't understand really. They think they understand what D&D is, but they don't understand what D&D is, and it also didn't help that some of the people in his group, because there's a big group, there was like 7 of them. A lot of them weren't players to begin with. They just joined in for the fun.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, now I like Charlie. We watch a lot of his videos. You and I share a lot of his videos. I like some of the other stuff he does, but these clearly a good chunk of his fan base like don't understand how things really work. You know, like when he makes when he makes a video with his friends, there's a lot of editing involved in it because there's a
Mhm.
lot of jump cuts and a lot of stuff like that. But when he's sitting in front of his mic and his camera talking about something that's on his mind, that's just his stream of consciousness. And
Mhm.
I think maybe they confused the two and thought anybody can do this. I don't know. I was just at first I was kind of disappointed in what they were doing on the show, and then I started to realize I was more disappointed in in the reaction people were having to this pretty cool podcast or video cast or vlog or whatever they are. Live stream.
How did you know what people were commenting?
Well, in live streams, they run the word that people can comment.
And you were paying attention to the live stream comments?
A little of that, and then I jumped on and was watching reaction videos that people were making about his show, and that was I'm to be honest that was the major complaint that a lot of YouTubers had about the people watching his show,
Mhm.
watching this live stream is you people don't understand how this works, and I think the first episode was kind of like a lot of to be fair, it was a lot of navel gazing because they were basically they were just having a good time and goofing around.
Yeah.
And by the second episode, they were embracing the story of the adventure that they were on.
Mhm.
And that's just that's indicative of any game session. Game one is people trying to figure out what's going on, establishing their characters and stuff like that. Game two is more you're more into it. I mean, I think for a live stream that is not done by professionals, it's pretty good. Mhm.
Criticisms break down into several categories. One
Mhm.
is somebody who doesn't really understand what the creator is trying to do, right?
Right, right.
And they're just like, "Oh, you suck at this thing." And it's like, well, they don't suck at the thing. They're doing okay at the thing. You just don't like the thing that they're creating, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's not a fair comment to be like, "You suck at this." It would be fair to go, "Okay, I just don't understand this. I don't know what this isn't my thing. I like watching Penguinzo, Moist Critical, Charlie's stuff, but not this." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one. That's so one category is you suck, and those people can just go pound rocks. Right? It's like you
Yes.
you always have the you always have the option of just not saying anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then there is the category of the other one I just mentioned, which is, hey, okay, I don't understand this. This isn't, I like your videos, but not this. I don't get it. I don't
Yeah.
know what this
Yeah.
is, right? And then there's, I get it. I know what you're trying to create. I generally like this kind of content, but you're not doing a good job of it, right?
Mhm.
That's okay too. I would appreciate that kind of comment. It's
Mhm.
it's the ones of all the different categories of comments, the ones I hate the most are the ones that just don't like the type of thing that that creator's trying to do. Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, that goes to a lot of things because in in entertainment, like uh fans don't want, and I'm generalizing, but fans don't want artists to grow.
yeah,
You know, they don't
or
want to try
experiment.
new things. They want, or you know, experiment. They want to hear, they want to hear what they want to hear,
Yeah.
and they'll still buy the stuff, and or in this case, watch the live stream and complain about it the whole time, as opposed to like you said, just it costs nothing to just keep your mouth shut or find something else to watch.
I do like that Charlie's trying something, right?
Hmm.
Because to
Hmm.
your point, like if Critical Role or whoever, highly edited voice actors, improv professionals, that could
Yeah.
bring people into the game, right? But
Hmm.
what Charlie's like seems like he's trying to do is like, I have a huge following. I'm going to try something here
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see how it goes, right? Like you and I can play D&D. We should do that. We should have a D&D game. We could do it, but
I,
we don't have a million people or hundreds of thousands like Charlie does.
and it
Uh,
wouldn't be live streamed.
and it wouldn't be live streamed, right? It would be heavily edited probably, right? So
Edited for
that's
your entertainment.
interesting. And it makes me wonder about D&D too, because D&D is a game that like if people watch people play video games like Call of Duty or
Hmm.
whatever, like people will sit around and watch people play Call of Duty, but I'm like, is it fun to watch another group of people play D&D? Apparently, because there are a lot of channels that have
Yeah.
huge followings where all they do is sit there and play D&D, right?
Hmm.
Then there's the other thing I was just thinking. I think I missed a whole category of critic, and I think it's unique to the internet now, or probably not unique, but it's just, more seen. Is
Hmm.
people that just are trying to say something edgy so they can be noticed. It's a pick me, like, oh, look at me, I'm saying something edgy. Everybody noticed me
Yeah.
saying this thing. And these live
Pick
streams, I bet
me
get a lot of those.
slash. Yeah. Oh yeah, they do. Pick me slash. What's the word? I'm clout chasing. Pick me
Cloud
boy.
chasing, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, this sucks. It's like, dude, whatever.
Yeah.
Go yell up to your mom to bring you another hot pocket.
I've got some ideas. I could put a game together and get a couple of the old Don't Panic alumni together, and we could play a game and see how it goes.
We have to guard against me doing what I always do, which is in order to be interesting, I feel like I have to be funny. And sometimes my humor is at the expense of the seriousness of things. And I know
It's
that sounds weird, but humor, when you bring humor into a thing, you have to respect the seriousness of the thing you're doing. Otherwise it just comes across as like poking fun at or not taking it seriously, you know?
Yeah. Now, to be fair, an honest criticism about the skill check
Mhm.
was a lot of outside of the story humor, where they were the players were just kind of like goofing off and making making jokes about things. There
Yeah.
was a whole thing about an STD that went on for entirely too long.
Yeah.
It didn't add to the story or anything. But there's nothing wrong with humor in Dungeons and Dragons or any role playing game for that matter. In
Yeah.
fact, you and I used to talk about this back in the day because back in junior high when we were playing D&D and all the other players like hated us, it's because we were having fun.
Yes.
If you walked by the door where we were playing, you
Mhm.
heard laughing and carrying on. If you walked by the door where other guys were playing, you heard all this like serious, like they might as well have like dramatic music
You
and
walk into
you
the
know.
cave and there's a mist near the floor. And toward the back of the cave, there's a slight glowing, not a bright glowing, but it's just a slight sort of a amber glow toward the back of the cave. I knew a girl named Amber once. Could you just, you're not taking it seriously. Okay. There's an amber glow. Steve.
What was her name?
Sorry.
Amber Glow.
Amber Glow. Did we go to high school with somebody named Amber Glow?
Actually, I
No, I
knew a
got
girl last name of Glow.
It's a good point.
But no,
And it takes a high level of sophistication to understand the difference between out of game humor and in game humor and when each is appropriate. Take my humor very seriously.
That's why if we do this, it will be edited because we can't help but goof around on it.
Yeah.
And when it comes to actual game nights, typically, like if you have a 5-hour game night, you probably honestly get about 45 minutes of actual play
Yeah,
in.
true.
There's a whole lot of goofing. And I think that's true across the board with almost all groups, and
Yeah.
especially ones I want to play in. If you're too serious, I don't want to play in that group. But so we wouldn't live stream it. It would definitely be edited for your convenience.
All right, let's do it. All right. If you're listening to this before the holiday, enjoy your holiday. If you're listening to it after a holiday, I hope you had a good holiday. Welcome 2024. Who knows? For the first time in forever, I'm like 2024 will probably be worse than 2023. For the first time ever, I'm like, next year's got to be worse than this year, right? I mean, it's just gotta be.
We're not even having any illusions.
Right? Usually we're like, oh, I can't wait for this year to be over. Next year's got to be better. I'm like, no way. Next year's going to be much worse. Much worse.
I just saw a thing about how 2024 is like just a couple days away.
Yeah.
But 2019 was almost 5 years ago.
5 years
and we're
ago.
still processing 2019.
Look, this is the longest ending in history, but maybe you'll cut all this out, but here's the thing.
Midwestern ending.
If we still have electricity and the ability to listen to digital media in 2025, we're going to be listening to this going, oh, you sweet summer child. You had no idea.
You sweet summer child.
So for Santa Claus, for Baby New Year, for Grandpa Old Year, for Jason Statham the Cheetah, the Megalodon, and 130,000-year-old Mastodon, and most importantly, Paul Schultz, I'm Steve Vinson. This has been the Don't Panic Radio Show, and nothing you just heard was true.